Anyway, very exciting, brand new book, only 4 weeks old, and I just want to show you a few things in the book so that if you want to look at it some more later, you can do that. So let's just look at the table of contents. It's right in the front. The TOC is 4 pages long. So part 1 is strategies for writing a successful federal resume, and there are 9 strategies. So the first strategy is to write the resume in the format that I'm going to show you in a minute. The second strategy is to talk about how many hats you wear at work. And my format is called the outline format. And it's paragraphs, little paragraphs with headings. I'll show them to you in a second. Actually, let's look at them now. Let's go to page 16. 16. Every resume that's in the book is a real person who I know and talked to and asked if I can use their resume in the book. This is Jenny on 16. This is a bad resume, page 16. I call this a big block. It's hard to read, nothing stands out. Page 17 is also bad. It's just bullets. You can't see the keywords or the skills easily. The ultimate good resume that got her hired is 18. She wanted to stay in Naples when her husband separated from the Navy, and she was a military spouse, and this is her job that she got. Now, please note that at the very beginning, in italics, we have a description of the Housing Department, Fleet and Family Readiness for the commander there. So we have a little description of the organization so that the HR manager and the manager themselves will see a little scope of your organization. And then we have these all cap words, see, ensure quality of life, housing program expertise, personnel workforce management, and marketing.
This is the job she had.
She applied, this is a job that she had, and she was applying for an 11 in the same place. So, now those all cap words came out of the announcement, out of the section called qualifications. So I'll show you online here in a minute where to find those words. So the all cap words come out of the announcement, and hopefully there's a match. If there's not a match, you might not get disqualified. So there is a match for her. And that's the trick, is to match your resume to the announcement. It's a trick. It's real. Okay, Milton, 19, bad resume, hard to read, nothing stands out, big block of words, blah, blah. 20. Bullets, just straight bullets. Private sector look, hard to read. The HR people, human HR people read 500, 600 resumes. I don't think they really read them. I think they look at them. But how in the world could they pick out the key words on page from 20 or 19? They can't. They can't. Okay, so this is the after 21. A little description of Geico up there. And then his all cap keywords to match are front end supervisor, commercial claims processing, flood insurance, National Flood Insurance Program, and FIP, and then a couple of key accomplishments. So this format is a little different than Jenny's. Jenny has her skill, then accomplishment, skill, then accomplishment. This one has the 3 skill, top skills, and then accomplishments, yes.
Is this not using the structure they just build into USAJOBS?
The builder, this is an upload.
Oh, you basically do it in Word or something,
And you
then
upload
you
it.
upload it as a resume.
This could be done in the builder. You would just print, preview it, copy it out, and fix it up.
Okay, that's what I was
So
wondering.
you can use the builder if you want. I don't recommend that you submit your resume with the builder. The
Don't
builder,
you have to, then? Don't you have to fill that out?
no. Mm-mm. Some
That's a
agencies
well-known-
you do.
a non-
I just
unknown
found out that
secret.
TSO, if you're applying for a job as a transportation security officer, you have to use the builder. I didn't even know that until 2 days ago. NASA also, you have to use the builder, but otherwise you don't have to use the builder. You know what happens to resumes when you use the builder? They'll print it out by the HR people, the top 10, let's say, or 15 that go to the manager. They'll print them out. The builder format resume type font is 7.5 size.
Right, I learned that the hard way, yes.
Can you really believe that?
Well, I couldn't believe it when I found it out, but yes.
Well, I called OPM. I talked to the person in charge of USAJOBS. I said, you have a problem with the federal resume print, preview, and print. It prints out and goes to the manager and really terribly small type, 7.5%. And I hear about it everywhere I go teaching classes, and it's so hard for managers to read. They show them in their class. They hold it up front. Yeah, this is what it looks like. Guess what he said? It's not our fault. He did. He said it's not our fault. We collected data. We created the form. But the vendors, like 30 of them, who are on the other side, like part 2, you know, there's a second part where you do the questionnaire and upload and stuff. All the vendors, they're the ones that need to correct the printout. He said, do you want me to tell all the vendors to change the printout?
Yes.
Yes.
I said, yeah, that would be great. So they'll probably never fix it. So what you should do is don't submit with the builders. That's all.
But how do you not do that?
Well, then you go print preview on the resume, you copy it out, put it into a Word file, then you fix it up so it looks like this, and then you upload.
Upload it just as a
As a
document,
Word file.
not as part of the not as part of the
Builder.
builder.
It's an upload. You can have 5 resumes in USAJOBS, and you can have either builders or uploads, and you need to use upload. Builder is 7.5 type. If you want your resume to go to the manager's desk at 7.5 type, go ahead and submit with the builder. Awful. So that's a correction. We got another chair right here. I'm going to use mine in a minute. Sorry. Okay, one more before and after for Deborah.
So when you apply, they'll tell you whether you need to
Yeah.
fill out for the builder.
They'll tell you. Yeah, I was surprised with TSO. I didn't know. My client told me, I have to use the builder. Use it. You have to use it. That's fine. Not very many are doing that, though. Okay, look at James on 22. This is another before, big block of words. Hard to read. 23 is a typical private sector short bullet thing, which is not good for federal. And then the after is on 24, where we've got a little profile. You can add a little profile to your upload resume, short little one. And then we have the title of the job, and we have a short description of the Special Investigative Division. And then the keywords from the announcement are investigative coordination, law enforcement, and special investigations. And he has 2 stories in the middle. So if you all, how many of you would be interested in applying for federal positions? Okay, good. So when you go home, you could look at maybe page 24 and compare your resume, your last job block, your most recent job block, I call them job blocks, to this look right here. And you could change your resume to small paragraphs and add a couple of accomplishments so that you will stand out. And as you can see, the accomplishments are not 1 sentence, they're not 8 words, they're like 4 sentences. Accomplishments for government, since you can do 5 pages, can be a little bit longer. It could be like short form, little KSA. You have a question?
Quick question, just because I see under law enforcement operations, he used the word I possess. Are you allowed to use the
Yeah, you
first
are.
person in federal?
Yeah. Especially in the accomplishment section, because it's taking ownership of what you did, not what the team did, not what the workforce did, but what you did as a leader, manager. So we do use a personal pronoun I in the accomplishments so that it shows it's something you did. A lot of people are really, really afraid of saying, I did this, and I did that, and if you did it and you led it, you need to say, take credit for it and use it. So, and then there's a sample of an IT person here. There's a before, 25. See this great big block of summary skills on 25? That's just not good to have that great big summary there. This is a functional resume. And then if you look on page 26 and 27, this is a better format. We have the technical skills up top. Then we've got the related experience, and the job title is Cloud Management System Specialist. Then we have a description of Cloud Management System, the company. And then we've got 4 skill sets: systems analysis, systems admin, IT projects, and communication, and then 1 accomplishment. So all 4 samples that I just showed you in the very front of the book, the mix is a description of the organization, so they'll understand your scope and complexity, and then about 4 or 5 paragraphs this long with the header that comes from the announcement, and then maybe 2 accomplishments under key accomplishments or somewhere in the resume. If without accomplishments, your resume is just going to look like average, you know, like every other person. But if you add the accomplishments separate, it might get you a better score, and it might get you referred to the manager, it might get you an interview if you look interesting. You know, that's a really big word. If you look really dull, like nothing interesting on the resume, you're not going to get called. You really have to make the resume say, like the two ladies up here spoke their accomplishments. They need to be on page 1. Like that long, not really long. I like accomplishments that are, you know, 4, 5, 6 sentences long and are interesting, and that can get you the interview. So while I'm here, let's look at where those keywords are, okay? I'll show you some more in the book in a minute.
Can you push your experience or your accomplishments to the first page, even if they're not your most recent?
Well, you can, except that HR people really, really want to see what you've done anchored to dates. If you want to repeat it, if you want to put something awesome on page 1 and then repeat it again in the work history, that would be okay. But you better not just leave it in the block on page 1, because basically their eyes are going to skip it. Anchored to dates, because they need to see if you have 1 year specialized experience in this work. That's why it wants to be anchored to date, so they can see what year, how many hours per week, and all that. Let's look at we'll look at public people, and we'll look at something like a GS-12, just down the middle. I just want to show you keywords, where to find them for your all-cap words when you're about to change your resume. Okay, IT specialist developer with Peace Corps, and I'll show you more than one. Okay, so here's the announcement, and isn't that amazing how job pays anywhere from 75 to 137? Whew, that's a lot. This is 5 years, that's good. Term, all right, that sounds permanent to me. Okay, there's a summary of the job. OHS within Peace Corps, okay. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, they gave you the keywords right there. Look at the hats right there. I call them hats. My hats are work. So if you were writing a resume, you would use these words. Type them in all caps, and then describe your experience that matches. But normally the responsibilities are not that clear. Okay, let's go down to my favorite section, which is under requirements, and then go down to qualifications here, and oh my gosh, look, it doesn't say much here. And for the 3 level, there it is, right there. The experience is 1 year specialized experience equivalent to the 4 or the 11, 12, directly related to the line of work, doing these things right here. These words are the deal breaker words. They are, HR is looking for translating, interpreting functional requirements. I mean, really, translating that word. And don't get creative. Use that. Use the word. Translate and interpret functional requirements. Design, code, test, IT programs. End-to-end development, IT systems. Complex design, healthcare system. Look, they want healthcare, so you've got to do healthcare. IT policies and standards and guidelines. And then I'd like to see an example of a time when you conducted analysis and recommended a resolution to a complex IT project. That paragraph, as you can see, is what? 4 lines long. Every announcement has a paragraph like this. Every one. That's your content here. If you don't match this, when at Resume Place, you know, on a company called the Resume Place, we write resumes for people and coach and review and everything. And so the first thing I do, people send me their resume, I want to apply for this job. So I'll look at the resume 1 second, see where they work, how long, what level, and then I read this paragraph here. Translate, interpret functional requirements, design, code, testing. I look at the resume. 4. Translate, design, code, debug, test. Most of the time I don't see the words because people are not into it to matching the words so much, but a lot of times the people do have the experience. It just isn't on paper. You know? So I say, these are the words, so I'll copy and paste these words into the email and I'll send them to the client and I'll say, in order to get best qualified for this job, we have to show this in the resume. You have this experience, Kathryn. You tell me, you got it, you don't. You don't have it, we don't talk. You have it, it's buried, you got a horrible resume, it doesn't say what you really do, or we're trying to scoot you over to something new, fine, will work. That's how you do it, right there, that paragraph. Then the next one, and experience, it says and. Oh yeah, they've got the IT competencies. For every IT job in government, these 4 competencies have to be covered. You have to make it clear that you are very good at attention to detail, customer services, problem solving. A lot of IT resumes don't reflect the ability to talk to humans. Just read about technical stuff, you won't get hired. When I teach IT specialists, I'll ask this question. I'll ask you, all of you, any of you who are IT, when you were working in IT, what percentage of your time did you spend doing customer services and communicating with your customers and your stakeholders and so forth? What percentage of your time did you spend talking and providing customer services? You answer. You too.
Big
Both in
chunk.
IT.
Big chunk.
What's that?
Big chunk.
What percent?
It depends on the role, but anywhere between 25 and 75%.
Yeah, right. Right, a lot. A lot. You talk a lot.
It's all
Well, a
about-
lot of IT resumes don't reflect that. That who you talk to, how do you do the scheduling and user support and problem solving and listening to their problems. And that's what you do. And then you do your work after you communicate. So, okay, let's do another one. What job title do you want me to look for?
Marketing.
All right, let's see what comes up. 87 jobs. Oh, let's do outreach. That's GS9. What grade level do you want me to look at?
12,
We'll try.
11.
Wow, SBA's got a lot of marketing and outreach, lower level jobs.
Kathryn, would that imply that someone new came in and they're trying to build a team?
No, it just means they only want to go to a GS7 on the job.
Yeah, they don't want to pay very much.
Right, they want a worker, not a manager job. So, only thing that comes up under marketing specialist is education. Let's see if there's anything. Supervisory loan is also kind of marketing. They evidently think contract specialist has a lot to do with marketing
Yeah,
because
which-
you do market research.
Yeah, yeah.
You do marketing. It's not marketing, you do market research of vendors and products.
That's the problem.
It's different. The government just doesn't have that much marketing. They do, let me look for the word.
Communication. Communication.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
1035.
Communications probably would work. 366, GS11, okay, let's do telecom, training advisor. Okay, here's one, Las Vegas. All right, here we go. Communication specialist, what do they want? What keywords would you use for this job if you were gonna apply for it? Oh, it's internal to the agency, you know, so be careful. Keywords, here we go, down. This is part of the MHB, Education and Training Programs for VA staff. Okay, good. Training employees. Okay, deal breaker. So for the GS11, you have to have 50 experience at the 9 level doing this right here. Right there. Manage communication plans for target audiences. Incorporate multiple channels for disseminating progress. Support VHA public affairs. Oversee the online presence, web content, and accountability for the VHA. That's it right there. So, those words.
So when you say it's a deal breaker, if you don't have that experience in that amount, you're gone. Don't even apply.
Well, the big question mark here is the fact it's an internal announcement. This is internal, only internal. So probably anybody who does apply to this does have VHA experience.
Okay.
So this would only be for people with VHA experience. Yeah. But if it was advertised to the public, you could write about your experience in training and education with another organization and a different online communication systems. that may not be the exact VHA one, but would be an enterprise communication system. So let me go back and mark this public, okay, this survey. How many of you were former federal employees and have 3 years experience for reinstatement? Only one? So all of you would be first timers too?
Well, I currently work for the
Oh.
government.
Oh, okay.
And you've been there 3 years.
Yeah,
Current
14
feds.
years.
So we have a couple current feds and a couple with reinstatement. So we'll do the public. Let's see if we have communications to see what it says. Toby Hannah, I've been there. You know the questionnaires that are part of the announcements. How many of you have applied for federal positions? You've seen the questionnaires, right?
Yeah.
The questionnaire is a test, you know.
Yeah.
You have to get 90 points on the questionnaire, or you don't get best qualified. Did you know that?
But I have a question. So for the questionnaire, so should the question, because they always say you should always check 5,
Yeah,
the expert.
highest level.
However, the questions, does we still supposed to make sure that we have keywords that's in the questionnaire match our resume as well too?
Yeah, it's good if you match the resume pretty much to the questionnaire. But if you match the resume to my favorite paragraph, the specialized experience paragraph, you don't have to match every single word to every single questionnaire.
Okay.
Really, because that's outrageous. Because the questionnaire could be 20 questions, your resume will get longer and longer and longer because you have to match all those words in the questionnaire. So I match the specialized experience, and if there's KSAs, like crazy, and then I do the questionnaire highest level, boom, done. So I wouldn't kill myself trying to match every question in the questionnaire. It's ridiculous.
KSA?
What's that?
KSA?
Knowledge, skills, and abilities. Some announcements
thank
still
you.
have KSAs in them. All the announcements are a little bit different. But what I was going to tell you about Toby Hannah, when I went there, HR came to the class from CPAC, the CPOL, and their score is 70 cutoff. That's because nobody wants to live in Toby Hannah. They only get like 10 applications total. If they had a score cutoff at 90, they'd hire nobody. Oh, it's up 83, great big hill, lots of trucks. You don't want to go there.
Is it Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Oh, good people.
Mechanicsburg, you know. Oh, yeah, it's not popular.
Just a curiosity, under the bottom one, it says 9/12. 9/12.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
What does that? What does
Oh, that means if you want this job, it's in DC. That is, we can look at keywords for that one. That's an awesome, that's a career ladder job. That means if you apply for the 9, you could get the 9. The next year, if you have a good evaluation, you could scoot up to the 11.
Oh,
And then
okay.
next year, you scoot up to the 12, just for sitting there. It's the best
Okay.
job in America.
We don't have very many anymore.
They're still out there. They're wonderful if you can find them. Career ladder, 9 to 12. And sometimes they have them 7 to 12, 7, 9, 11, 12. Shocking. Amazing. You can go 40,000 higher in salary in 5 years.
Does that mean you'll never go past a 12
That does mean that. Sure does.
in that job?
in that job?
Well, you go to a step 10 in that job if you stay 5 years. But if you want to get a 13, you got to leave. You got to apply for the job. Yeah.
People have mentioned the questionnaire.
Questionnaire.
Where are those found,
I see.
and how do you prepare for those?
Okay, so we'll look at this awesome job here with Homeland Security, external communications. We'll pretend like you want to go for the 9. Okay. It's in the Office of Secretariat in Criminal Investigation. That should be interesting. Okay, skip all these words. Skip, blah, 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 go past those. Do not analyze those words. There you go. That's it. Knowledge of laws, policies, regulations, precedents applicable to the administration of one or more programs, ability to communicate orally and writing. Wow. Any master's level public policy person could totally write to that. And in 3 years, they'll be at 12. But you have to hit this. You have to add in your resume your knowledge of laws and regulations that has to do with any program. It doesn't have to be FEMA, it doesn't have to be Coast Guard, it could be military, it could be any program that you are familiar with, could be healthcare or something else. But let's go and look at the questionnaire and see if the questionnaire has anything in it that's more specific. You can also start in as the 11. You don't have to go straight into 12 if you have the experience. The 11 wants more. Qualitative, quantitative methods, improving complex processes, establishing working relationships with IC community, and congressional reports. That really got a lot harder. It'd be really easier to go in at the 9. The 12 probably be worse, of course.
Oh, PhD.
Oh, you can't go in at the 12. Oh, yeah, there you can. There you have to do qualitative, quantitative methods, improve complex systems, foster working relationships with the IC community, and then draft stuff for congressional reports. That is harder. Okay, questionnaire, let me show you where it is. It's always in a different place. Now this section here, see this, how you be evaluated? This is hidden. You can see it doesn't say anything right now, right? I'm going to click read more. I don't know what it's going to say. Oh boy, there they are, the hidden KSAs.
Questionnaire is KSA?
Nope,
No.
They're gone.
and it shows you yet. How you be evaluated, there we go. 5 KSAs. The best way to respond to the KSAs is to give an example, like one of those little examples from the first 3 samples in the front. But look at that, the words are the same. They're really the same. It says qualitative, quantitative methods. They want an example of a time when you analyze some data, qualitative, quantitative, to improve processes. That would be an example that would prove that KSA. Yep.
So is that supposed to go into your resume, or is there a questionnaire? Sometimes they have a questionnaire.
We're going to come to the questionnaire
Oh,
rather
okay.
yet. These go in the resume. Examples that demonstrate this go in the resume.
So this is not the questionnaire?
No, I haven't showed it to you yet. This is still analyzing on the top side of the announcement, what to match. This section here, how you be evaluated, also usually includes something you need to match, either KSAs or competencies. So there's 2 sections that are pretty mandatory to match: a specialized experience, that 1-year specialized experience, in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this section here, how to be evaluated, click on read more because it's hidden. They tuck it away. And now I'll show you the questionnaire. Oh, this one's easy. Look, this is preview. Thank you. Sometimes you can't find it. Hide it. Okay, so here are eligibility questions, and whoa, let's see here. Which response best describes your level of experience with the legislative branch? Oh, brother. Okay, so if you did want to try to be the highest level, which is the last one, let's read that carefully. I have supervised the performance of this task, or I have trained other people in this, or I am a person who is consulted because I'm an expert in legislative something. And the question again was, highest level of experience with legislative branch. The way people can get away with being an E with that line is just to say, and have in your resume, actually, if you don't have anything in your resume about communicating with legislative branch, you're not going to get hired anyway. Because even at the 9 level, it had communications with legislative and congressional something. The last sentence in every one of those 3 levels, 9, 11, 12, had it. So if you don't have, if you've never touched legislative anything, you're not getting a job. But, you know, if you took a class where you were analyzing legislation and had a project from school, analyzing a piece of legislation, chances are you could hit it, okay? But one of your headers in your resume needs to be analyzing legislative acts and laws and regulations.
Is the post office part of this job search, or are they separate?
They have separate. You have to write KSAs for the post office. You have to actually write a narrative. Okay, that's the first one. The second one is scheduled debriefings or meetings. Oh, that's a piece of cake. Everybody's done a meeting. Got that one. Oh, what is this? Have you coordinated visits with dignitaries? You better think hard about that one. Maybe you have. Maybe you've been in school. Have you written responses to congressional inquiries? Whoa, we're really going congressional here. That's hard for a GS9. Have you coordinated? Oh, there we go, the same one. Communications, all that. Yeah, you got all that. Which has communicated media? Yeah, all that. Timely requests for information? Okay, yeah, probably. Oh, let's see how many it is. You never know how many there are. not too bad, 15. This questionnaire is really something, because what people do, in my experience, more than the other, is that they deflate their answers. They don't give themselves enough credit. So they'll say a D, or a C, or a B, and they'll say, oh, that's really not true. I'm not a supervisor, I'm not an expert, I haven't trained others. People do ask me for help a lot with this. Okay, that's an E. Government's made it really hard. So they miss a lot of really good people because people score themselves down. I was working with a really senior level person on questionnaire coaching, and there was one question in there he absolutely could not say yes to. And he was yes to everything else. And he would be a great candidate for the job. They need him. I said, well, you decide. It's up to you. I think you should just check off with him. Because you're qualified perfectly for everything else in there, you decide. But if you don't check off the E, if you go A or B, your score is probably going to be 90 or 95, and you may not be among the top. And they need you. He did go with the E. So the questionnaire is a deal breaker. HR will see the score of the questionnaire like the morning after it closes, and they'll see how many people are 90 and above or 95 and above. And those are the resumes that they look at to compare to see if your resume really matches your questionnaire scores. Now, if you submit a one-page private sector resume or two-page private sector resume, you're going to be thrown out straight away because it's not going to match. If you do a 5-page resume, you match those words from the specialized experience in the KSAs, you're not going to get thrown out in the first minute or two. You're going to make it to a good pile. That won't be the pile referred yet, though. That'll just be you survived the questionnaire. And then they look later to see who's going to get referred. They refer usually about 10 or 15 people to managers. And then from there, Army Contracting Command in Redstone, Alabama, the manager told me their cutoff is 100. They have a lot of applications. A lot of people want to go to Huntsville. It's very popular. So 100 is the score for down there. Now these scores are not publicly known. I just happen to have a couple HRPM people in my classes that will admit to me what the numbers are. Otherwise I would not know. But we just assume that it's 95 and above, you know. So how many of you applied for jobs and have done this questionnaire before? Have you given yourself all the credit you can, or do you think maybe you might do better?
I definitely rate the highest.
You do.
Has that worked for you?
I think I've been on a few interviews, and I think only once the hiring manager asked me questions that were actually on the questionnaire. And I've actually served on hiring panels. The questions that you're answering here are probably not going to be the questions that are asked in the interview. There's no connection at all.
The question, I think the questions that could be asked are more relevant to that specialized experience paragraph, that smaller paragraph. If you take the 5 sentences that are in the specialized experience paragraph and turn them into interview questions, chances are those will be very close to what.
So the point being, if you're concerned about getting caught, it's unlikely.
Well, you get thrown out first, probably. But, you know, if you're new to this, when you get down to the very end and you say, you swear that this is the truth, and you'll be fined $100,000 or fired or something horrible happened to you. It's just really, you know, a threat. Okay, so when you go back and look at your resume, when you're at home, your federal resume, you'll have, if you get the book, you'll have the book. You can look at the outline format with the all cap words. This is the format that I teach in every agency where we go, which is, you know, 20 or 30 agencies everywhere. They all love it. The HR people love it. I ask them when they're in my classes, I say, what do you think of this resume format? Would this work for you? And they say, oh my gosh, yes, it would work. I wish all of them looked like this. Then they start talking about the 22-page resume they got last week and something funny, you know. So that's what's important about picking out the keywords for the resume, is to always match those words. Yes?
So how many years going back should be on your resume? Like,
Well, I've heard that the HR people read 5 years, and we recommend going back 10 years with details. And then after the 10 years, you can keep it on, but just keep it short. Because the managers don't want to read life history resumes anymore. They want to see recent and relevant. So I recommend you go back only 20 years. I recommend no dates before 20 years. So you don't date yourself. So that would be 2000. Yeah.
What about cover letters? I hear those are a waste of time because they're not read.
That's true.
Just for USAJOBS.
Government. Yeah, government.
Don't waste your time.
But they want to ask them.
What's that?
I mean, they ask for your.
If they ask for it, what they normally say is it's optional.
I mean, in the USA jobs website.
They say red cover letter is optional.
Yes, I've looked always in a. But sometimes people say that if you're not updating your resume, which means you know what, you are not being true to yourself, maybe that's something you're hiding, and it's a way also to sell yourself. So it's always good to just put your cover letter down there. So most of the jobs I apply,
HR people don't read the cover letters.
They don't.
No, they don't send them forward to managers. I've seen cover letters that people spend a lot of time on the cover letter and put their best accomplishments and skills in the cover letter. And it's really sad because, they need to read the resume. They need to prove from the resume the hours per week and how many years and experience. Yeah.
So you said don't put no dates on the resume if it's going. Can you give me an example? I'm kind of stuck on that one.
Well, after 20 years, 2000, so no dates, 1995,
Okay,
97,
gotcha.
99.
Okay.
You don't have to put your college date in there. It's not mandatory. So if you did graduate college in 85, don't put it down. Just leave it out. It's not mandatory.
Just put in the degree.
It's not there.
Just put in the degree or don't put it in.
Just put the degree in, yeah. No date. Yeah. Because you don't want to date yourself. It just, you 20 years is plenty. It's not, 10 years is really not.
Can you talk a little bit about rehires, like re-employed annuitants, and is it the same process?
No, but I can't talk about it. I don't really know that much about
Oh.
it. That would be an OPM thing. I know it's complicated, getting rehired. It really is. So it's not a topic I've written a book about. I know reinstatement is the same, but if you're retired and coming back, they're trying to make things easier for you to do that. I've read. But one thing you have to look in the book here, let me show you, that you can look at later, and if you get the book, you can look at it. I have a lot of samples of accomplishments in here. We expanded this chapter. Look on page 47, 46 and 47. The one thing I think that might be the worst of resumes for federal is that they don't include any accomplishments. And if they do, they're in the middle of a great big paragraph, and you can't find them. Because when we teach classes in agencies, people bring their resumes to the class, and we talk about accomplishments, and I say, okay, now get your resume out. Circle or underline the accomplishments in your current job. And they look. Don't have it, or they're in the middle of a paragraph, it's 4 words. Oh my soul. So bad. So here's some samples starting on page 50. We have an example for an executive assistant, a GS-12, a public affairs specialist, a 13, nurse, emergency planner, a pilot. The pilot story, this guy who's my client, he wanted to get a job as inspector of risk for FAA after he retired from American Airlines. He'd been applying for 5 years trying to retire from American. He started early. And FAA requires you have to write KSAs, 5,000 characters for 8 stories. He didn't do it. He just submitted his 1-page pilot resume. Never got anywhere. So this story here, he told to me, I said, come on, can't you tell me about a time when there was a risk? I mean, you've been flying planes for 20 years. Tell me a story. He said, oh, yes. There was a time I was flying out of Paris, and we had that really bad volcanic ash problem coming out of Newfoundland and New Zealand and everywhere. And I was flying out of Paris. All the airlines were stopped, military and commercial, stopped. So I decided, since I was sitting there, I would talk to the engineers at Boeing who built our plane, and I flew to Seattle and talked to the engineers about, can we fly our planes in this ash safely? And he said, yes, you can fly them safely. You have to go straight though. You can't go up and down. Up and down is not good. Go straight. So him and the engineers went to meet the president of American Airlines and talked about it. American Airlines flew. Only airline that flew. That's the story right there. Yeah. That's interesting. He was hired so fast. Finally, after 5 years of not telling the real story of what he's been doing, stories are just amazing at getting results, and getting interviews, and getting prepared for your interview as well. And then we have on the next page a financial management analyst, a construction control person, an engineering student, a vocational nurse, a clerk, all kinds of stories in here. And then each of the sample resumes in the book also has accomplishments too. There are 17 resumes in here that are in the book. The last book had 7. This book got a little bit bigger than the last one. So each step is a little bit different. We have a whole thing on career change resumes. Let me show you that one. We have 4 stories in this one, and there's before and afters in here. Okay, the first one is on Eric, page 139. And this is really Eric in front of his ship. Let me use a picture. He was working as a driver for Goodwill, picking up stuff out of boxes and moving them around as a driver. And he was a military guy, so we helped him get a position as a material handler with the Navy. And his before resume is on 140 and 141. Short little nothing, says nothing. Wow, wait till you see the real resume. 142. We can make a truck driver look great. Wow, look at this. And then we updated his resume. He got a rigger job after that. He got a promotion. So the dock he has to drive down in New Jersey is 3 miles along to his ship. Can you believe that? A 3-mile long dock. So there's his resume, driver resume, got him hired. And then the rigger skills are on 145. Okay, the next one is Philip. His before resume is on 148, 1 page, just short, just packed in. And his after resume with his awesome accomplishments from his school projects is on 149. So if you know anybody that's a new graduate, remember page 149, this is it. Because we have his projects detailed in here. We have little stories about his course projects. And look at the projects on 150. We got 5 more projects, relevant coursework. And then his work history, he had quite a few jobs as well. So he got a GS-9 based on education and 1-year specialized experience.
Yeah, excuse me. I noticed that you put his hourly and annual salary in there. Was there any particular reason why, or?
Which one?
For on 142.
There's actually a couple that you listed the salaries.
Is this 45?
You can put the salary in if you want, or you can leave it out. It's not mandatory. Looks like the guard job of $50,000 is good to put in because I think he wanted to earn $50,000. So if he puts it in one, he needs to put it in the other. I mean, driver, $14 an hour is horrible, and Goodwill is horrible.
Is there any particular reason why you can think that that would be something?
Yeah,
that
because the HR specialist, when they see that he was an E7 making $50,000 a year, they can equate that to a GS7 nicely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
So even if you were lower in more recent jobs, it's still
Well, let's say you were making $75,000. Maybe you're working for the state.
Mm-hmm.
They pay $20,000 less than anybody else, really. Federal, I mean. So it's making $75,000 in the state. You're applying for a job $95,000. That could be a problem. You should leave it off. Because that's not anywhere near. But if you're making $65,000 now and you're applying for a job that's a GS11 $65,000, yes, included. Because it shows apples to apples for HR.
And they're not going to come back to you and say you didn't put in here what you earned?
No, it's not mandatory. You go to the builder, you'll see you can skip it. You don't have to have it in there. It's up to you. If you want to put it in there, if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, then don't. So if I think it's near, a lot of people that might make a lot of money, own companies and stuff, $250,000 a year, they probably leave it off. It's ridiculous. And they'll wonder how realistic it is that, they want to go for a government job. Well, everybody knows it's for mission. Salary doesn't make any difference,
Yeah, quick question. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that one of the key questions when you apply for federal job is the question about the U.S. Selective Service. Now, for those who were not born here, myself as a U.S. citizen, how do we go by? Because each time I apply a position, they ask me, okay, did you apply? You did it. And sometimes they just say, okay, you can continue because you know what, you didn't register. But I was not even born here. And I'm a U.S. citizen, so how go back?
You know, I really actually don't know. I think you just have to say, no, you didn't register for it. You can
But
put it in the, do they turn you down? You can't apply?
Yeah, some of the job they just turn you down. Even not qualified, they just turn you down. So what I did, I just went on the website and then found the 800 phone number. So when I finish this seminar, I will just go down and call them and figure that out because they say they can send you a note saying that, you know, you are not here.
It's a good question. I would have to ask my HR contact
Yes, please.
specifically how to do that. My
Can I have your email address so
Emails
that
in
you
the
can
book,
communicate?
yeah.
I can send you an email about this.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next sample, career change 155. Margaret Jones is a clinical social worker. Her before is on 155. Clinical social worker for the Navy, Army. And her resume is just all about clinical social work. And then the after on page 157 emphasizes her training in outreach, communications, collaboration skills because she doesn't want to be a social worker anymore. She wants to be a park ranger. So we emphasize training, instruction, interpretation, communication instead of social work. She's all burned out. The last one is Anne. This is a private sector resume. You can look at this. It's a nice 2-page resume and a cover letter. 163 is this person retired from the government and wanted to go leave and have a 2-page resume. She's actually government contractor. So this is a good-looking resume. We have expertise and some accomplishments, and then the cover letter. My website has a cover letter builder that you could use to write cover letters for private sector. And then there's another 2-page resume, private sector, government to private, on 166 and 167. So you need a tour of this book, right? I know, you need a tour. There's so much in here. You wouldn't even find it if I didn't stand here and tell you. I think I have to do a little YouTube on this. I'm going to do that. That's why I was glad to come here today, because I haven't really taught with the book very much yet, and it's a lot of content that's in the book. So we teach classes on each part. So we have classes on resume writing on the 9 strategies, and then the next part is career change inside of government. So we teach a separate class on that, and then the third part is career change from here to here. Private to federal, student to federal, federal to federal, federal to retirement. So the last chapter is all change, and the middle one is getting promoted inside, and the first one is the basics of federal resume writing. Yeah.
How do you handle applying for a government job if most of your experience has been freelance work, where years overlapped? It's hard to say how many hours per week you might have worked on anything. You might have done several different projects
It's a good
at
question.
the same time.
You're going to have to think about your project work, do a timeline on paper, separate. Do a timeline, who were your clients that you were working for how long. You have to make a list. Because the federal resume is based on dates and places and people and duties and projects. So you're going to have to force yourself to make the timeline of who you were working for when.
Well, I can do that, but for example, I've applied for some jobs, now these were not federal, where the computer program got very upset that I had overlapping dates. So, I mean, I had no choice but to lie and to make the years separate from each other.
When you work for yourself, you can change the dates because you work for people different years, and the government doesn't have any problem with overlapping dates because a lot of times people have 3 jobs at one time. Look at the U.S. military. Look at the reserves and the Guard. Oh my soul, those resumes are the worst on earth. They have 2 lives. They've got the entire reservist, activated, deployment, training, part-time, 15 hours a week. Then they've got their corporate career here. So having double dates is not a problem for government.
Okay, that's interesting.
Not at all.
And you know, how many hours per week did you work?
Well, you got to figure that
just
one out.
make
Yeah,
something
10,
up.
right, 10 or 5 or 15 for those weeks. because the HR people will add up. The sample in here for that new grad, Philip, he had 4 internships with Coast Guard in Hawaii, because his mother went there, so she helped him out. And he worked 15 hours a week, or 20, over 4 years, over different amounts of time. And you just get out a calculator, and it added up to 1 year of specialized experience with the math. That's how HR does it. They look at the math, they look at the number of hours per week, and find 1 year, I don't know how many hours that is, but whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's getting back to the question about military. Like, when you talk about dates, like you say, the training and certifications, I was Army, and some of my certification dates, you know, they go back
Yeah,
a few years.
long time.
Do you just leave the dates off?
You have to leave the dates off.
So across
Now,
the
the problem that I have is, let's say your military is 1980 to 95, something like that. That does go before 20 years.
Right.
So you could say 20 years, U.S. Army career, retired at a E5 or 7 or whatever it was, prior to 1990. Just leave it.
Because the certifications are relevant, the training is still relevant. If you want to make sure you have it still on there, but the dates themselves are the ones that, you know, like you say, cross-reference in.
Question, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might want to put the dates in. If those certifications are really relevant for the job you're doing now, and they are still relevant, a lot of certification dates are not so relevant anymore, but if they are relevant and important. I have to tell you one more thing about the book. What time is it anyway? Anybody?
12 after.
Okay. This chapter is really important. I threw it in at the very end. Wait a minute. Here it is. Special Insights for IT Specialists, 170. This has been in all my books forever, and I had to throw it in. So we talk about all the different kinds of IT jobs in the government on 170 and 171. 170, 171. Cyber, enterprise, cloud, systems, COOP, business process planning, IT planning, acquisition. Okay, then there's occupational standards in government, and it has a description here of all the different kinds of IT people. Then the sample resume that's in here is amazing. And if you're an IT person and you want your resume to look like this one, here's one for a recent grad, 180, 181, 90. So this is an IT recent grad. It's 3 pages. And then an IT mid-career starts on page 183. We have his profile, certifications, his computer skills, his education on page 1. Page 2 begins the work history. And we've got a description of Science and Technology Director for DHS. Then all cap words, vulnerability assessments, security technologies. We're using the all caps. And then selected accomplishments 1, 2. Page 1 is heavy on technical. Certifications, training, technical, page 1. And that works for, you know, any kind of job that's really technical, like engineers also would be like that. Engineering, they all have a lot of technical skills that they have to feature. GIS would be this way, emphasizing all your technical skills. And then the work history is like what I've shown you on all the samples. Small paragraphs, all cap keywords, and then either selected accomplishments or key accomplishments separated out from the duties. Duties is one section, accomplishments and projects is separate. For HR, humans, a lot of people think resumes that go into USAJOBS are read by a machine. Only NASA uses a machine to read. Otherwise, HR human people sit in a chair and read resumes and look at them. Yeah.
Quick question. So how effective would this be? So say if you're applying for your next grade up, but you don't currently have those skill sets now, but you're training or volunteering your time with someone that's already in that level. How would I?
You have a detail in the higher level work or not?
Yeah, I'm signing up for that. So how would that be effective on your resume? How would
Make it a job block. The detail becomes a job block.
Okay.
Month and year, hours per week, supervisor, what you do, 1, 2, 3. But you also need to upgrade your current job.
Okay.
So that it tries to match.
Gotcha.
Upgrade the language so that, you know, it's truthful but it matches.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So, and piggybacking on your question, because even with the volunteering, like if you have, if you're participating, like I volunteer with the Civil Air Patrol. So when you look at actually, some of the leadership training classes and the like that go on. Is how relevant is that?
It's really relevant. Make it a job block.
Okay.
Has to be a job block. If you want credit, it has to be a job block.
Okay.
Even like a volunteer job, even if you're volunteering in a church or social services or something, if you add it at the end under additional information, that field in the builder says additional, no credit, 0. Don't even read it. But if you make it a block, title of your job, title of the organization,
Okay.
street address, zip code, city, state, supervisor, phone number, duties, boom, hours per week.
Gotcha.
No money, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, you used the term job block.
Yeah,
That's
make it a
what you're
job.
talking about in terms of the highlighting.
Make it a job. Right?
Okay.
Don't make activity just a laundry list. We won't get any credit for that.
So just don't make it a volunteer. Actually, make it part of that job block.
Make it a block.
Right.
Pull it out as a block. Right.
Okay.
Military spouses have to do that all the time.
Yeah.
Because when they move from place to place, they can't always find paid jobs, so they build blocks, resume blocks, and skills from their volunteer jobs, and then equal to paid. It's the same thing. But if they just added as volunteer activities 0.
But you
Terrible.
can't put any money.
No, you don't have to have money anywhere in the resume. Salary is not a required field.
Okay, so, and also I see no supervisors
Oh,
here, no phone numbers.
This one didn't have it.
Is it okay? Just
You don't have to have them. You can just use references. The supervisor phone is not mandatory field in USAJOBS in the building.
Can you give us an example out of your book, just to quickly find it, military spouse, and that, is there a resume for a military spouse in here?
There really is. I added it like at the last minute.
Okay.
I'll tell you the story while I'm waiting to find it. Her name was Kenya, and she's GS5 and moved to another duty station and got a volunteer job. And we got her out of volunteer into a paid job. Here it is. Found it. 98.
Thank you.
There it is. And let me show you something while I'm standing here. Look at the bottom of page 98. Something special. I'm recommending that military spouses create a job block out of their military spouse job. I think being a military spouse is a job. The military spouses don't think so. They want to hide it.
Yeah, but they do more work than the folks deployed
Sure
because
do.
it's a hard job.
I have another book for spouses if you're interested. I didn't bring it. It's called The Stars Are Lined Up for Military Spouses. And I have 6 samples in the book that look like this, where I pulled out the job blocks here. Look at here. She was at Fort Gordon and all these places, and then her current job, this on here, Fort Gordon, that was volunteer, because she couldn't get a paid job right away. The job she had before at Fort Meade was a GS4, and look at all her honors and awards. Look at this list here. She's like the best employee in all of Fort Meade. She got a GS5, thank you, at Fort Gordon, paid job. And she wrote to me and she said, I know it's just a GS5, but it feels like a GS13. I'm so happy. I should put that in the book. She types 80 words a minute. So this resume is what I did. I emphasized her technical skills on page 1. And then I put her military spouse history. And then I did the volunteer job, just like a job block. See that? That's a job block.
Yeah.
30 to 32 hours a week, salary volunteer, it is a job block. And then the next job is a GS4, and that's all I put in there. So what do you think of that? Do you think military spouses should take credit for all the places they move their families around to?
Absolutely.
But did you have to have volunteer in there?
What's that?
Did you have to have volunteer in there for the?
I wanted to because, yeah, I fill the time. I mean, yeah, she's working it. She volunteered straight away when she first got to Fort Gordon. Walk right in and say, here I am, I want to work. So that we got our paid job, thankfully.
Yeah.
Instead of being a full-time forever volunteer, which a lot of spouses end up doing because they can't figure it out. Most spouses do not add their spouse history to their resumes. They don't even say they're a spouse in their resume, they hide it. Because they think it's going to be bad for them so that managers will know they're moving in 3 years or 4 years. But I think that they should add it anyway and risk it because their unemployment rate is 28%. It's very bad because their resumes are honestly just crazy with all these different locations and titles of jobs. So this is my idea. I came up with this idea in March of last year.
Can you just leave out the word volunteer, or you don't?
You can leave the word volunteer so they know it's volunteer, no pay. Just say that.
But what if, can you leave it out?
I would leave it in so that they know it's not a paid job. I would just say volunteer. It doesn't hurt.
And on some of the job announcements, they will tell you to put in paid and unpaid volunteer work.
They do.
As for
They
part of
do.
your history.
They do. They sure do. They say they give you space, a paragraph in each announcement. Volunteer experience is equal to paid experience. So, in a military spouse job, we put down that they work anywhere from 15 to 25 hours a week as a military spouse with all their documentation and logistics. And I have one of my blogs on the website is where I interview somebody with Moody Air Force Base about her job as a military spouse. And you should sign up for my blog, resumeplace.com. Let me show you my website real quick, and then I'll put if I have to stop. So you can go back and look at my website. This is my new one right here. So I emphasize, that's one of my classes right there. We just launched it. Then we talk about agency training, because we're a GSA contractor, we do a lot of training. Then we talk about the books that are in there, the new one, the stars are lined up. Then I have a certification program. I do a train the trainer program. I teach military transition, career counselors, HR, everybody about the stuff I teach you. And then there's resumes. And then the blog. And you can sign up for the blog. For the resume part, I have who are you? You can read a little bit. There's a video we use in my training. Different. You can read a little bit more. If you want to work with us, we charge $99 to give you a quote. We don't do anything for free. We used to do them for free. We can't now. It's too many. Or we can do a 1-hour quote and consult for $190. It's not that bad. And then we quote the writing, and you'll know. You know, if it's average is $700, I'll just tell you that's what it is. It can be $2,000 if you're a GS-15, you know, complicated person. But that's the range of it right there. And then
that's only after you have a job in mind, right?
Either an announcement or a job title and a grade, because we can write it toward the OPM classification standards. We don't have to write to a specific announcement. In fact, the announcements close after 5 days a lot of times, and we can't write to an announcement. There's no time. We have to work ahead. We have to get the accomplishments ahead. We have to get the basic skills ahead and get ready for the announcement. Then we can tweak it to match the announcement. I have a bunch of free stuff on this page here. Resources. Everything here is just resources for writing your federal resume, and sample resumes, sample accomplishments, the sample the outline format. My builder, I have a good federal resume builder, accomplishment builder, cover letter builder. And then this video library is new. Y'all can just sit and look at these all day. I've moved over a lot of my YouTube stuff here just because it's mine. And people like the YouTube things. Some of them have been read a lot, so look at all that. The most popular one is that one there, the FBI Special Agent. Oh man, is that ever good? The FBI Special Agent resume is unlike any other resume on the whole earth. And there's a sample in the book. I'll show it to you. It's the only place you'll ever see a sample anywhere on the whole planet. I did it. I put it in here myself. I jumped in. FBI knows I did this. They know me. Look on 62 and 63. These are the FBI competencies. The FBI is trying to hire intelligence, linguists, accountants, business owners, teachers, everybody with a degree, a bachelor's in anything. You have to map your resume to these competencies that are right here.
What's the age limit?
What's that?
What's the age limit?
62. So these are the competencies, and here's the resume, 65. This resume format is it. It must look like this. And please note that what we have done with the resume is we map to the competencies. Look at page 66. We have a story about collaboration, and a story about flexibility, and a story about leadership. This guy and his wife own a cleaning business somewhere, and he's applying to become an FBI special agent, going to leave the cleaning business to his wife, and he's going to go on out and get an interesting job. And I'm telling you, he is hired. He's real. He is hired. I like it because it's so, I mean, talking about a cleaning business going to FBI, isn't that wild? But he wrote the resume, he mapped his accomplishments to the competencies, and he shows that he'll be a really good team member, work well under pressure, flexible, working with people, customers. So that, isn't that a weird looking resume? Anybody you know who was FBI, mandatory to get people. Read my blog, look at my YouTube, and you will probably do very well. Because the interview is based on the competency stories right here. Yeah.
We were just talking about something to be very specific. The block where you would use your volunteer work. That's kind of like on page 25 with the with your regular stuff. You would do a block like that, or is there another example for using a block for your?
Well, that spouse sample that I showed you a minute ago, Fort Rucker, that was a job block for a volunteer job.
Okay.
The spouse sample, Fort Rucker, was volunteer job.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because I found a job on the U.S. Census, and if it says you have to have a year of something before you can go into that, if I don't have that, then it's not worth going.
What job is it, Census?
It's a program manager. It's actually a G15.
Yeah, if you don't have the one you're specialized at the 14 level, you probably won't stand a chance. 15 level is really high.
Okay.
You know, if all of you are out of work right now, if any of you are, the U.S. Census is hiring census takers just to have something to do part-time. It's a separate website. It's not USAJOBS. You can just Google census takers. It's really interesting. My son did it. It's really an interesting job. Meet people, go out there. I'm going to write a blog about it. So if you're not working, it'd be interesting. Something to do, make a little, I don't know what they make. I went into the system. What's that?
You can't use it to hop to a federal job.
No, you can't. It's deceptive. It's just something to do. No, they won't give you any credit.
Quick question. So, does the FBI have like an age limit?
37.
37. Okay.
Minimum or maximum?
Maximum. But military people can be a little bit older. There's a little bit of an exception. To apply. Yes.
For any job.
Is it any?
No, special agent.
So what about
special agent?
What about for like if you want to the criminal justice? Is there?
No, if it's just a regular competitive service job, there would be no age limit. Okay. Just special agent, you have to run around. Athletic is pass a really big test. One of my clients hurt himself doing the test for athletic. He got injured while doing the test.
Well, he'll be sued, but now he doesn't have to work at all.
No, he got well and he did it again. They never stop. Once they start getting in there, they just go. I'm at it. I'm going to do it. I'll get there.
What was he doing? Lifting?
Oh, I don't know. Running or something crazy. You know, he did crazy stuff.
Would this be, this particular application, would that work for recent graduates?
No.
It looks like it's more,
weird.
It looks like it's further along.
Weird. The sample in the book for recent grad is that Phillips sample in the very back. That is your ultimate sample for a student.
Okay, so this FBI.
FBI is only FBI is a crazy resume.
But it wouldn't be recent graduates to go for this FBI stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Recent grad, yeah.
But use the new grad, but use it with
the competency stories.
Yes.
And you would pull competency stories from athletics, from debate, from internship, from volunteer, from anything, travel, crazy stuff, whatever in their life. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was wondering if you could put.
Yes.
Yes, if you have a security clearance, especially top secret, make sure that's prominent if you're applying for an agent position.
Yeah, that would go at the top of the resume,
Yeah.
like next to your name and email and phone number and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does it still take a very long time from sort of the beginning to when
Well,
you get
it depends on the agency.
It could be 6 months.
OPM says it's 80 days, but then the clearances take a ridiculous amount of time after that. That doesn't include clearance. So if it's a clearance, it could be really long. It's really awful. Well, a client wrote to me the other day saying that he was going to have to wait for his clearance still 3 months. No, it was 6 months. Oh, was it military trying to go DOD? You got to wait 6 months?
Right.
He said, I've been offered a job, and they told me I have to wait 180 days. And I don't know if I'm going to do it. I'm going to do something else. And I wrote back and said, you should wait. Do something else. You should wait.
But don't you sometimes be able to start even if
not the military
not now?
Not the security clearance people might be able to start and do something clerical or something, but maybe not. It is a problem. Security clearance thing is a really big problem. But the military, that guy in his 180 days, that was legit. Because he can't start. They have a rule now, if you retire from the military, you have to wait 180 days for a DoD job. I think you should wait for it. Go do something else part-time, or find something else temporary,
Right.
and just wait for it. I mean, these jobs are hard to get.
What job series is like a background?
Investigator?
Yeah. What is
That would be 1800 series, investigative series.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, let me show you where that source is. You could just search for it. I have it on my website. Let's see if I can find it. Useful links. Here's the OPM salary. Even go on there anymore. We'll just do google.com, OPM, classification standards. So all the jobs in the government are described in a basic setup here, in the handbook of occupational families, and you can read all the job descriptions like accounting and social science and whatever. So you can work on your resume ahead of time before the announcements come out.
Okay.
And it's also in the book on page 187.
Oh, 187.
Job
Good. There's a lot of stuff in your book. It's the ultimate guide for federal resume writing. Makes me work up a sweat. So I think that's all I want to cover for today. I showed you the really important thing. One of the most important is the outline format, which is really good for HR. All cap words, where to find those words in the specialized experience paragraph or in the paragraph that says how to be evaluated. We talked about the questionnaire, how to give yourself all the credit that you could in the questionnaire, and the resume needs to match somewhat, to specialized experience. I showed you the important samples in the book. You've seen 8 outline format samples with the accomplishments split out from the duties. And resume-place.com is the website. And if you want to write to me, you can write to contact us on the website, and I get them all. And if you want to ask a question, that's what you can do, is find contact us on my website and ask about selected placement, selected service button if you weren't here until later you became a citizen. So I'm in Baltimore, not very far away. Yeah.
Quick question. On page 26, I don't see where you can just snap your education. 26, I'm seeing technical skill certification, related experience, key accomplishment.
Well, what she would do if she had a degree is put it right after the technical skills. If she had a degree, she might not have a degree.
Okay.
You don't have to have a degree to get a job in IT specialist in government. You just have to have certification. You don't have to have a degree. Same with program analysts, yeah.
Have you seen many positions during all this in USAJOBS where they seriously just tell you to send your cover letter and your resume and email it to this person?
Yeah.
Because
Have you seen it?
I did. I just saw it. I applied for a paralegal position on the Hill.
Well, good.
And I
That'd
did.
be nice.
Oh, I just wasn't sure if it was common. Or,
It's not common.
Okay.
It's accepted service position from somebody who doesn't want to bother with USAJOBS, and just do what they say. You never know.
And it was weird because the date range and like it seemed like a year.
A lot of announcements on USAJOBS are open for a year. Those are resume collecting announcements. They're real. They just hold them until they want to hire. I don't know what will happen with that. I mean, they're not using the typical USAJOBS system, but whatever they say, you just did it. But 5 pages is what I recommend. New graduates could be 3 pages. Spouses could be 3 or 4. Don't have to be 5. Mid-career people normally 5, but not longer than that. Thank you very much, everybody. It was wonderful.